What's going on with y'all, man? This is David W. Williams, also known as the Retail Trader. So what we're going to talk about today is how compassion can increase your economic value. And so what I'm going to kind of show you is how I was able to use compassion and use my compassion for others to increase my economic value. And then I'm also going to try to persuade you, right, in this particular video to start to develop your skill of compassion for other people. And the benefit of that is that it will start to raise your economic value in this particular system, right? We've been programmed that this system really is about what you can take from other people, what you can get off of other people, yada, yada, yada. And I want to really persuade you is that you can be very valuable, but you also can be very, fulfilled, learning and understanding how to be compassionate for somebody else that's not yourself. And everything about this world doesn't have to be about you. And even though people may perceive that about you because they really don't know you, you're really being blessed because you're really concerned with how you can really be compassionate first and then be a blessing to other people, right? So I want you to really understand that what I'm going to do in this video is try to persuade you of this particular point, right? And Miss Lady L, appreciate you coming through. Ain't talked to you in a good little minute. Hope everything going on with you and your family. So big up to Miss Lady L. She and her family are urban farmers up there in the Midwest area. So big up to them. She was one of the original people that bought my course and also bought my VIP. Been rocking with her for an extended period of time. Appreciate you continuing to support. I'm glad we've been able to connect. Ain't heard from you in a minute. I also pray that you're well, right? It's a storm getting ready to hit the southeast. I'm up because we want to kind of see how this storm rolls out. So may hit the bed a little bit later, but as of right now, we want to kind of see how this storm does. So everybody's in the southeast, I want to really pray that y'all gonna be safe. Everybody gonna make it through. We just gonna have we just gonna kind of watch out for this storm for the time being, and then we're gonna go into something else, right? So what we're talking about is how compassion can increase your economic value. Many people can think certain things about different people, and because they really don't know them, they really may not understand that they may be very compassionate and have a large level of compassion for other people, but they really don't know them. And then there's also people that they think that they're being compassionate for other people, but really a lot of things are really about them. And we're going to kind of go into that, right? And it's just to really help them to kind of examine and identify what they have going on. And so what makes what we do different here is we don't sit around and talk about other people and what they've done to you. We sit up here and we talk about you and what you can do to change your life. That's what makes our model different, right? We don't sit around and talk about everybody else and what they did to you and yada, yada, yada. No, we talk about you and what you can do to potentially change your life and improve your life, not only for yourself, but for the people around you. Okay, so what I want you to understand is that years ago, I used to work in retail. We're talking about compassion, right? Years ago, I used to work in retail, and I was working cashier position. And part of the training is they made you watch this video. And part of the video was to get you to understand that you're coming in contact with people that are going through things. So they showed you this example of like this guy, and he had just lost his job, but he got to go shopping to get food for his family. Then they showed you another example of a woman who just got news that somebody in her family had passed away, but she still got to get something for her family, right? And what they were trying to help you understand is that as a cashier, when you're communicating with people and you're interacting with customers, you don't know what they've gone through. You have no idea because you don't know what they've gone through. You don't know their life. And I'm telling you that to get you to understand is that often we only see our point of view of a situation, but we don't see somebody else's point of view. And that's a lot of socialization. People weren't always like that. And people as kids were often taught by their parents to look at another person's point of view. But we're in a world now because of social media. Everything is about me, 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 right? It's the idolatry of the person, to where people don't often think about the other person and what they're going through. They often just think about themselves and everything's about serving them, even when they try to make it seem like it's not. And so what you learn that is that when you're interacting with customers, they're bringing things into the store based on what they've gone through before they ever walked into that store, right? So you could wake up in the morning to get some bad news and then you still got to go to work, right? Or you could get some bad news at the end of the day and you still got to deal with your family after you get that bad news, right? So you could be working and you could find out that day that they're getting ready to lay you off. Now you got to go home, right? And you thinking about, well, I'm gonna get my next job, how I'm gonna pay for food, yada, yada, yada. So you're going through stuff, right? So that's what I want you to understand. Another thing I want to show you, right, really quickly is that there is this song called Everybody Hurts by REM, came out years ago, like literally 25, 30 years ago now. But the video shows you that all these people like on this highway. And it shows you all the people on the highway. It shows you like their internal thoughts. And what it shows you is that all of those people is going through something. So you see all these different kind of people on the highway, but they all are going through something. They all have these internal thoughts about what they're going through. And it's really getting ready to show you that everybody's going through something. And I think we really forget that sometimes, is that you're not the only person in the world that has something going on. Everybody's going through something. And often you would really, really understand that if you really understood other people's problems, you would find your problems would be really small. And we're not trying to take away from what you've gone through, but what I'm trying to get you to understand is that often we are so fixated on our own set of issues that we don't realize that a lot of people would kill for our problems. Because in the whole world, you got people, like you got some people, they're going to try to figure out how they're going to stay alive tonight. You got some other people, man, they're going to try to figure out how they're going to eat tomorrow. And they barely ate today, right? You got some people that they are unsheltered, not because they want to be, because they don't have no choice. People going through all kind of stuff in this world. We live in a world. We just don't live inside the state or the city or wherever. We live in a world. People going through all kind of stuff. And so what I want you to understand is that when you can start to really identify and have a level of compassion for what other people are going through, it can put you in a position to be a blessing to other people, which in turn can raise your economic value. So now really quickly, we're going to go to the sponsor of the show. That is the highest paid online options training academy. We have a 40% off on the VIP course. Use the code March40. That sale is going to expire on March 31st, 2025. Want to really encourage you to go into that. And so that's something that we want to cover, right? Here's something I want to talk to you about. We can be deceived into thinking the world will work better if everybody acted like us. This is something I learned literally almost 30 years ago, is that most people believe if I could just get everybody in the world to act like me, the world would be great. Most people believe that. So in their mind, if I could get everybody to do what I wanted them to do and to be just like me, the world would be great. Right? And so this is what they seek out in relationships. They seek out in every scenario is how can I get people to conduct themselves in a way in which I agree with it? Not saying that people are going to be enemies to your morals, values, and principles. They're not trying to do that. No, I'm saying is that how can I get people to conduct themselves in a way, right, in which I agree with everything that they're doing? And I co-sign everything that, and they literally look to try to build that kind of world. And then if they can't get that, then they don't want to be with nobody. All right. And so this is the problem that we have, is that people have been deceiving to think the world would work better if everybody just acted like me. But that's not going to happen though. So then now what are you going to do? So you got to ask yourself, why do you think that about the world? Why do you think, man, everything will go good if people just would do this? Why you need them to do that? Right? And so these are things that you got to think about in your own behavior pattern, right? Next one. Can you put yourself in the shoes of somebody else? Right? When you're looking at other people, can you put yourself in their shoes? Right? Not saying that you should excuse everything they do. Not saying that you should co-sign it. What I'm saying is that when you're looking at somebody else, can you put yourself in their shoes? Or is it only what is happening to you and what you've gone through and what somebody has done to you? What about other people though? Can you put yourself in their shoes? And many people don't have that ability to. And they've been socialized through a lot of online content that everything got to be about them and how they've been put upon and how they've been acting on. But what about other people though? What about what they're going through? Because you're not the only person that's going through something in life. You can't be. It's too many people on the planet. So if you're having a bad day, realize other people got to be having a bad day too. If you going through something, other people going through something too. If you having a struggle or a challenge, other people got to be having that same struggle and that same challenge. In real life, not just on the internet. So we're not just talking about trauma bonding on the internet. We're talking about in real life, people going through stuff, right? We getting ready to roll into the first of the month. A lot of people going to have to scramble and struggle to try to figure out how they're going to pay their rent. A lot of people going to go through that, right? So can you put yourself in the shoes of somebody else in real life, not just, I want a hot story on the internet to get my attention, and then I jump to the next story. No, in the real world, can you put yourself in the shoes of somebody else and what they're going through? Next one, can you show compassion to someone else? Do you have that ability? Do you have the ability to show compassion for somebody else? Or is it, if this person don't do everything I want them to do, I won't have nothing to do with them? If this person can't be perfect, I don't want to have nothing to do with it. I've been hammering that all year, going to keep hammering that on this YouTube. Because it's something that I've been convicted about. It's this narrative that people have to be perfect and people got to be foolproof for me to have anything to do with them. And the question I'm asking is that, are you perfect and are you foolproof? So if you not, then why somebody else got to be? Right? But I know how we got here because we got pastors on the internet talking about they sinned 20 years ago. So between 20 years and today, they ain't did no sinning. That's false. But we got pastors on the YouTube talking that people sitting up under this type of teachings. So we know how we got to this point. So can you show compassion to somebody else? Right? Or does the only person that receives compassion and understanding is you? And everybody else just got to deal with what comes with the situation. So these are questions you got to ask yourself. Next one, everybody's going through something, not just you. You really got to understand it about this world. Everybody in this world is going through something. You may not be aware of it because they may not tell you. It don't mean they're not going through something. Everybody's going through stuff. Everybody don't go through stuff and jump on the internet and start telling people. That's not what they do. Everybody don't go into people's comments on YouTubes and tell their whole life story. Everybody don't do that. Some people just go through stuff quietly. Right? That's how they was programmed as a child. That's how they've been socialized. They don't tell, some people not comfortable telling people their business, but everybody going through stuff, not just you. Right? So when the narrative always is what you've gone through and it's never other people, the question is, are you compassionate for what other people have gone through? If the story is always how you've been acted upon, but never what you did, then what are we talking about? Right? So I know it makes money on the internet to do this type, but in real life, if the story always is how you've been acted upon, but it's never what you did, then what's going on? Because if you ask the other person, I guarantee you they got a story too. It's not just your story, but we don't never do that. Everybody's going through something in this world, not just the people that you know, the whole world. Let me give an example of what I'm talking about. Right? Let me give an example of what I'm talking about. These are children in Gaza. Okay? So these young people have been raised in an environment where their home is getting blown up. People that they know is getting killed. Right? They always under threat of death. It's always something going on. Their whole life has been a life of destabilization. That's why a lot of people talk about they like spontaneity and they like yada yada yada. They won't like this kind of spontaneity. They like the Western consumer spontaneity. They don't like this kind of spontaneity where it's going to jump off at any given time and you could lose your life. They don't want that. They want something else. Right? This has been their life. So when you see a scenario to where these young people in Gaza are celebrating the death of some Israelis, and these are young folks, and you looking down on them, and you don't understand what they've been through to get to that point, where their whole life they've had these enemies, and these enemies have been killing their folks their whole life. They don't know nothing else, right? So they, in their mind, these are enemies. So if something happened to my enemies, I'm happy. But because we don't think about what they going through, this is how they've been raised, we now have a perception of them. Because why? We think we the only people going through something. These kids in Gaza ain't going through nothing. They just supposed to be regular people. How? They going through stuff. See, but we aren't trained to see what other people going through. until somebody else tell us that's what we're supposed to look at. But we don't never come to that conclusion on our own. But how are these young people not going through something when you understand the environment that they've been raised in and their children? They're not even grown folks, right? So we know now that people don't even mature mentally today in their mid to late 20s. So what is taking place inside these young people based on what they're going through day in and day out in this environment? Let me show you something else, right? These are kids in Lebanon, right? Where Israel also is killing people randomly whenever they want to. What do you think they're going through? So that's why this is dude on YouTube, and he talked about, well, you know, he's living every man's dream because he's able to retire his wife and make sure his wife don't work. And I said, that's foolishness, because if you a man in Lebanon, your dream is that the Israelis don't kill your family. You ain't thinking about retiring your wife. You're thinking about, I hope the Israelis don't come in to kill my family with an air attack, right? People in the West think that everything that they want, the whole world wants. Some people in the world just want to stay alive today. Some people in the world just want to eat today. They're not thinking about retiring their wife. See? But when we don't understand what other people are going through, we see everything through our point of view of the world, which is a minority of the world. See, so I want you to understand something. Everybody is going through something, not just you. It's not to discount what you're going through, but it's understand that everybody in this world is going through something. So having compassion for other people is understanding that other people are going through things the same way I'm going through something, right? I'm not the only person in the world that's going through something. Everybody else is going through things, okay? Next thing we want to talk about. And if this is making sense to you, hit me with a 1 in the comments, please. Submission is not what you want to do. It's what you don't want to do. Okay? I want you to really understand that. Submission is not what you want to do. So many times we're looking at things like being compassionate to people, and we're saying, well, you know what? I've been called to do 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to go do it. That's not being submissive. Right? If God asks you to do something and you want to do it, that's not being submissive. Being submissive is doing it when you don't want to do it. See, people got the game twisted. If I want to go do something, that's not being submissive. That may be I'm complying to it. That may be I'm cooperating, but that's not being submissive. No, it's when God tells me to do something that I don't want to do and I still go do it. That's being submissive. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? So I know that a lot of people, I can tell how they was raised because they think submission is only what I want to do. No, it's what you don't want to do. Let me give an example. I already know it's going to trip a lot of y'all out. I grew up doing chores as a young person. I had chores to do. So when I was growing up, I had to clean. There's a certain part of the house was my area. That part of the house had to stay clean when I was real young. Then I had to fold laundry. I would come home from school. My mama would be like, is laundry in the basket? You got to fold laundry. I had to take clothes. We used to have a big old yard. We had a clothesline. I would have to take clothes off the clothesline and fold laundry, right? This is what I was doing when I was real young. Another thing I used to do, I used to have to peel potatoes. I had to snap peas. I know y'all don't know nothing about that type of stuff, you know, because y'all from Beverly Hills. Y'all don't know nothing about that. I used to have to peel potatoes. I used to have to snap peas, right? Then when I got older, I had to start working in the yard, right? Had to rake leaves. We had a corner lot. I had to rake all the leaves. We had orange trees in our yard. I had to pick oranges, right? I had to weed the yard. Then I had to start cutting the yard, right? Do you think I wanted to do that stuff? I'm from Orlando, Florida. It'll be 90 degrees before it's 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. Right? It'll be 90 degrees before 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. And it'll stay hot the rest of the day. I didn't want to do any of that stuff. I did it because why? I was submissive to what my parents was telling me to do. It had nothing to do with whether I wanted to do it. I did not want to do any of that stuff. I wanted to have fun and just do what I wanted to do as a child. I had to do it. I was trained to do it, though. As a very young age, it was told to me and made me understand this is expected of you. Ain't no debating this. Ain't no what you want to do. No, you going to do it because we told you to do it. So that's why I'm going to talk about something. I'm a sidetracking real quick. When people be talking about this 50-50, the most ridiculous thing in the world is that because why? First, people don't make the same amount of money. If I make 100 grand and somebody make 50 grand, how we doing 50-50? I make more money than another person. Then two, how is somebody doing, this narrative that when a woman gonna work and then she gonna do all the housework? How you doing all the housework and you got children? So I already know how you run your household. Because when I was a kid, we had chores. It wasn't no you just sit up and all the adults do work. How are you doing housework and you doing the majority of the housework and your children pass a certain age? As your children get older, you're supposed to start giving them chores to do. Why? Because they living rent free. They eat free. So they need to be doing work around the house to support their lifestyle. So that's why I say a lot of this stuff on the internet is going to get people twisted because it's not based around real life and how real life really is supposed to work. Because if you got children in the house, why they not doing work in the house? They living in the house with you. So it shouldn't be. When I grew up, the adults, my mother and father, they didn't do all the work. My dad would come home and cook. So his attitude was, you going to peel potatoes and you going to snap peas because I'm going to cook. There's no way in the world I'm going to work 8 hours and come home and cook and I'm going to snap peas and peel potatoes. I'm not doing that. Right? I had to set the table. Right? Then we had to wash dishes because my mother was like, I'm not going to cook and wash dishes. You going to wash dishes. So I don't understand these households where the adults talking like, well, I'm going to do all the work because you letting your kids sit up in a room and play the game all day. That's your problem. You ain't got no control over your household and you trying to blame the relationship. No, you don't make your kids work in your house. I had to work in the house I lived in. Right? So I was submissive to what my parents wanted me to do, even though I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do none of that stuff. I wanted to do what these kids do now, just play games all day. Wasn't allowed to do that, though. I had to do chores. I had chores my whole life until I went and got a job. Right? So that's what I want you to understand. We have this attitude to where, well, I want to do this. I got a calling on my life. I want to do it. Right? And we think that's a prop. No, the real calling is you doing what you don't want to do. But you've been called to do it. It's things I do to support people. I don't necessarily want to do that. It takes time out of my life. It takes time out of my day. You know why I do it? Because that's what I was told I needed to do to help these folks out. That's what I was told I needed to do. It's stuff I added into my course that I did not. That wasn't what I started off wanting to do. I did it because I knew I needed to do that to help other people out because I was compassionate about what they was going through. Because I had a deep desire to see these people be successful. So that means I had to take more time out of my life to help them. I got to be submissive to that. So I want you to always remember when people start talking about submission, submission is never what you want to do. It's what you do not want to do. And once you understand that, it's going to open up a whole new door for you in this world. Okay, let's keep going. Right? Think about other people and what they're going through. It's not about making excuses. It's about compassion. It's not about when you look at somebody else and saying, well, we're going to make excuses for what this person did. That's not what it's about. It's about understanding what this other person is going through and compassion for that. Because everybody's going through something. It's not about making excuses of what they did. They're responsible for their behavior, but it's about compassion for those folks. Right? So if I go meet in 15 years, I meet a kid out of Gaza and he hates Israel. Well, I know why he hates Israel. Because I know what he's been through. I know about some of his experiences. We're not excusing nothing he may or may have done. What I'm trying to get you to understand is that we don't think about people and what they're going through. We just think about what we're going through because we're the only thing that's important. Right? Just us. We the only thing that's important. So everybody got to cater to us. That's the problem. So then we don't have compassion for other people. Or we think it's only our calling if we want to do it. No, sometimes your calling is what you don't want to do. That's called being submissive. Right? That's called being obedient. It's not always what you want to do, what you get amped up to do. No, it's sometimes what you don't want to do. Next one. Do you want people to give you a certain level of grace you're not willing to give others? This real big. People will build their world around, I got a certain attitude. I got a certain way I go about things. I got a certain way I do things. And they'll select people to be in their life because they'll tolerate that from them. But you know what? They'll never tolerate that from nobody else. Well, then what's the problem then? If it's fine with me doing it, why is the problem with anybody else doing it to me? Let me give an example. If I'm late all the time and then somebody come to pick me up and they late, what I'm tripping on? I'm always late. If I talk to people like I'm crazy, and then somebody talk to me the same way, what's the problem? That's how I talk to people. See, people do this. What they do is they say, I want to conduct myself a certain way. So I find people that would enable my behavior, and they'll put up with it, the stuff I do. But I don't want nobody doing me the same way. So as soon as somebody do me the same way, I'm just outdone because I can't believe you did that. But that's what I'm doing. Because I don't want to give the same grace people giving me. And then I say stuff, well, I'm just like that. That's just how I am. But no, it's really is that I want to get away with doing this, but I don't want nobody else to get away with doing it. So you got to always ask yourself, when you are asking people to give you grace for something, are you willing to give that same grace to other people? Because many people are not. They want grace for their, personality quirks. They want grace for their irregularities, right? They want grace for their frailties and their besetments, but they don't want to get that to nobody else, right? They want to be the only person in their little ecosystem that get that kind of grace. Because why? They want to be special. And so they build their life out around that. You got to be real careful of that, because it's showing that you don't really have compassion for other people. Because why? People going through stuff. And just because they may not tell you and communicate to you don't mean they ain't going through stuff. People go through things in life. People have downturns in their life. People have bad spots in their life. It's part of life. You're going to go through stuff in this world, right? So that's what I want you to understand. Your compassion can increase your economic value. If you really can be compassionate for other people, and you can really start to seek, how can I understand what other people is going through and how I can help them? You can create a lot of value, not only for yourself, but for other people. And that value can be economic. And that's something I was able to do. Part of what motivated me to do what I'm doing is I think about what other people have gone through, right? I will not just trade and don't teach nobody else. I will not do that. I don't care if I hit lotto tonight. I'm still going to teach somebody. Because why? I know what it feels like to feel stuck and not have nobody come help you out. I know how that feels. I know how I feel to feel like you're the outcast. I know how I feel like to feel like people don't understand you, right? I know how I feel like to feel like people looking down on you for whatever reason, and they just judging you on face value without really getting to know you. I know how that feels, which is why I don't look to do that to other people, because I know how I feel. And I don't like it when people do it to other people. I won't allow you to just be doing that stuff around me, because I know how I feel. And what a lot of people quick to do is, as soon as they can get it off of them, they try to do it to somebody else. I don't like that. Right? So because I have compassion for what other people have been through, because I've been through it myself, I don't like it to just keep going on and on and on. And I do things to try to help people in those situations, because I know what it feels like to be in that situation. Right? And what a lot of people do is, if they get out, they act like they don't know, they was never in that situation. No, I know what it's like. I know what it's like to run a business, and the business ain't making the kind of money you wanted to make. I'm not one of the people going to get on YouTube and be like, yeah, man, as soon as I started doing business, I just started making all this money. That's not my story. I'm not going to sell that to y'all. See, I'm not going to sell to y'all that, I committed a sin 20 years ago and I ain't never did nothing wrong since then. I'm not going to sell that to y'all. Even though I know that's what a lot of y'all is buying, but that's not what I'm selling. You see me? So that's what I want you to understand, is that you can really create a lot of value for yourself, but for other people, if you try to understand how to be compassionate for people. Not you got to excuse everything they did. I didn't say that. But how can you be compassionate for other people and what they're going through? Because everybody going through something. Everybody. Right? Everybody. I just found out about a member of my family that want to learn how to trade the markets because he's self-employed. And he worried about how if he don't make money, he don't make money. Well, how do I know how that feels? Because I've been self-employed for a long time. And I know if I don't make money, I don't make no money. And a lot of people don't understand how that feels. Right? And it's different when you're a man than when you're a woman. But a lot of people don't know how to feel because they're not a man. Right? So I say, yeah, I'll help him out. Because I've been where he at. He way younger than me. I've been where he at. I've been right where he at. And I don't want him to go through everything I had to go through trying to figure it out. So I told the people, yeah, I'll help him out. Don't worry about it. I got it. So that's what I want you to understand. Being compassionate can really increase your economic value, and it can bring blessings to you that you don't anticipate. But you got to get out of this mindset to where your point of view is the only point of view that's important. How you see things is the only thing that's important. And you don't want to offer grace to other people. You only want grace given to you. Right? And that's something a lot of people do. They build a world to where they can get away with everything, but they're not willing to tolerate nothing from nobody else. Right? So we got any questions, comments, and disagreements, let me know. And then we're going to get up on out of here. Let's see if this storm passed by us. We don't like lose roofs and stuff. Okay, that's in the chat. And then we're going to get up on out of here. So big up again to Miss Lady L. Brandon Leslie was good. So thank you, man, for buying the Lazy Investor course, man. Check out the 40% discount on the VIP course. Pascal, man, what's up with it? Oh, no one, what's going on? Cedric Webb, man, what's going on? What's up with Salt Lake City, Utah? OCL Sportsman, what's up with it? So OCL Sportsman, if you don't mind me asking, is that because you're a hunter? And if it's true, what do you hunt? Because I think you said you out of Texas. What kind of game they got in Texas? I always figured Texas was the desert. Snapping peas with elders was a vibe. I went snapping peas with elders though, Miss Donna Del Sol. I was in the kitchen by myself snapping peas. OCL Sportsman says I snap peas, utilize clotheslines definitely. Yeah, we didn't get a dryer, OCL Sportsman, till I was probably a late teenager. We finally got a dryer in my house. We hung clothes up on the line. Facts, and I really prefer that now because the dryer will shrink your clothes, like for real. That heat is shrink your clothes. Like for real. I just had that happen to me this week. Pascal H says I had chores since I was 7, 8 years old. My first job was construction work. Some of my dad at 13 years. I feel you. I had chores growing up my whole life. That's why I don't understand people talking about something. I'm gonna do all the work and I come and do all the housework. Don't you have kids? You ain't got kids to do work for you? Them kids sit up in the house and they don't do no work. That's the problem. It ain't that other person. It's the fact them kids spoil. This reminds me of a book I'm reading called Emotional Intelligence 2.0. I feel you. Let us know how that book is. JLD, hopefully the weather isn't too bad for y'all. Yeah, let's see how it go, bro. Hopefully it's not. I really don't want no tornadoes. So hopefully it's not bad. Johnny Cadre says the reason why Elon types against empathy, hope everybody's safe in this weather. You appreciate it, man. Grew up in Mississippi hunting rabbit. Okay, I feel you. I saw some people hunting rabbit in Louisiana on like these I'll call them sandbars, but they're like islands. I know they don't have sandbars in Louisiana. But I saw people hunting rabbits up on there. I've never hunted rabbit myself, to be real with you. So big up to that. I was just in Mississippi like maybe 6 months ago. Brandon Lester said I had chores. I had to learn to take care of what I had at a young age. I feel you. So you say from Jacksonville, Mr. Warm weather, but not the hurricane season thunderstorm. Yeah, I prefer that over the cold though. I don't like cold weather at all, like at all. So I take the trade off because one thing I do like about the hurricanes is they're coming. Thunderstorms really not that bad, and Cedric, we really don't. At least say in Florida, you don't get a lot of tornadoes like that. At least in Central Florida, you don't. You get a few warnings every now and then, but it's not like Kansas, like the flat part of the country, where they just roll across the state because it's all flat, so you really don't get them like that. But, you do get a lot of thunderstorms, but that don't really bother me. I know how to deal with that. And really, I prefer it to just hot weather with no precipitation. I like precipitation personally, but I'm glad you're doing your thing up there in Utah. At least they got clean air up there. We had a few tornadoes in the St. Louis region. I feel you. Hope everything work out. you know, because the downside of them is you don't get a big warning like you get with hurricanes. You know, you see a hurricane coming out 2 weeks ahead of time, so you can get ready for it. With tornadoes, it could be a little bit different. You know, you can literally get out of the way of a hurricane, like drive and go to a whole nother city. Okay, so it looks like that's going to be it. So I want to encourage everybody, make sure y'all stay safe out here. Have a good weekend. Be good, man. I'll talk to y'all later.